Okay, let's have a look at how you practically manage your security and protect yourself using Zoom to minimize any kind of problem that you might have. Okay, so the first things first is when you fire up and start Zoom, just click on the details at the top here and then just do check for update. Okay, so this one has an update available. So it's worth being on the latest version. I think you're going to be forced if you're on a version less than 5 to install it, but you know that's something you need to get to do to keep your system up to date as much as possible. While that's doing the update, I'm just going to pause my video. Gone here, we've clicked on update. And we've got the latest version. That's what I would do certainly once a week, so you're definitely up to date with things. Next, go into settings. There's lots of things that you can change in here, but the one we want at the moment is to click on view more settings, and that should take you to a web page where you may have to log in again, which looks a little bit like this. So here's lots of things that you can change. If you've logged in with a college or a school web address, you may find that some of these say locked by administrator and you can't change them. So if you do need to change them and it says that, you need to go off and talk to whoever your administrator is for because they've set that up. Okay, so first things, you may or may not want to use personal meetings. I'm creating a new meeting for each one. The problem with that for me is that it keeps the same ID numbers. So anyone can then join a meeting if they've been in a meeting with you before. If you are going to use those, make sure you've got a password on the personal meeting. Normally, when you create a meeting, it creates a unique ID each time. That one I would probably leave off. Require a password when scheduling a meeting. Require a password for instant meetings. Yes, they need to be on. You can decide whether the link you send when you invite somebody has the password encrypted, but in that email, in that one link, or whether you have to send them the password separately. I'm still using that. I'm still happy that that's the case. If somebody shares the meeting link, there's just as much chance of them sharing the password that goes with it anyway. That one, certainly put it on. You might want to think about this one for muting people on entry. That's just a personal thing. Whether you want to how you handle muting is a subject for another day. Do you want to include the encryption? So we'll try that, see what happens. That one, basically everyone needs to use the encryption. That's quite a good thing to have on. Quite a good one you might want to do is you might want to stop people saving the chats. I'm not completely convinced. You need to think about that one. So there is an ability for them to do that. Private chat, allow participants to have private messages to each other. You may decide you don't want the students messaging each other. That's probably a good one to turn off. Auto-save chats, I would do that. It will keep a recording of the chat, so if there is a problem, it's saved. You don't have to panic, it's done. Play a sound, nothing to do with security, one for you to think about. Show the control bar, yes, put that on. Show Zoom meetings during screen share. I turn that off typically. Who can share screens? Depending on your students, you know them. You may want to just do host only. And who can start sharing when somebody else is sharing. So this is a kind of handover. If you're handing over between different people sharing, then it decides at the moment only the host can take back control. Disable share desktop or screen sharing for users. So you can turn that off, and it's only available. Disable screen share. Disable desk in a meeting. Only allows sharing of selected applications. Okay, so you can have it restricted so that they can only share certain things and not their whole screen. If we tick that, I can't see where we have any other option to do anything. So I'm just going to leave that. I think that's a good one to leave off. When you're sharing screens, can people annotate? Again, you choose. If you're using the whiteboard, do you want it auto-saved? I would probably say yes to that. Remote control during the screen share, I would probably turn this one off. You don't want people remote controlling. Basically, it allows somebody to try and take over controlling your screen or somebody else's, so definitely turn that one off. Allow removed participants to rejoin. So do you want them to come back in, and once you kick somebody out, you can choose. If somebody is really getting annoying, you might want to have that one set. Sorry, you might want to have it off at the moment so they can't rejoin once you've kicked them off. If that's become a problem, then you might want to turn it back on again, but it just means that you might have more problems. So if somebody has been kicked off, can they come back in or not? Your choice. These things are quite hard to change once the meeting's in progress, I think. And so allow participants to rename themselves. Your choice whether somebody can change their name once they've got in. I think it's probably best that you keep it so that they can't change their name, so you maintain control over who is who. Hide participants' pictures. Yeah, you might want to do that. Only their names will be displayed on the video screen. I've turned that off, so it just shows, it's only showing name, it's not showing a profile picture like the one I've got at the top here. Add the ability to report participants to Zoom. Yes, I would turn that one on. You decide whether you're doing breakout rooms. Far end camera control, I would turn that one off. That allows somebody to change how the camera is working. Waiting room, definitely turn on a waiting room. When attendees join the meeting behind, that's okay. I think that's fine. So that's all changed and all set up. So let's have a quick look at what happens when you're in a Zoom meeting. So I'm going to start a new meeting, and I'm just going. So let's have a look at what we've got now. So when you start a meeting, when you move to the bottom here, you've got a load of security options. So first things first, you definitely want to make sure that the waiting room is enabled. That's kind of somebody will come on into the meeting and be held, and they won't be allowed into the meeting until you let them in. So definitely have that. Then you've got control over what you allow people to do. So again, you might want to just turn these off temporarily. It lets you do this. It lets you do this on the fly. So those are quite useful things to do. If you've got everybody in the meeting, and maybe after a certain time you decide to lock the meeting, that will basically not let anyone else into that meeting. You also got control over who's in the meeting. So you can click on this participants, and you can see the chat and see what's going on. As we saw before, you might want to disable person-to-person sharing, chatting. Okay, so let me just pause the video, and I will set up another. I'll dial in as another person to show you how that process works. So I'm just on the computer, going to try and join this session. So I've just done that, and you'll see that you have a message there saying asking whether you want to admit the person or not. So if you recognise the name, you might want to let them in. Or let's have a little look in the waiting room. So now we can see in the waiting room we've got this evil person, and we can just kick them off by clicking remove, or we can admit them. The other things you can do is you have some options down here to say a message to everyone in the waiting room. So you can let everyone in that you want to let in, and then you can send a little message. If it's a name you don't recognise, you can send a message to the chat that says, can you, let's have a look. You can say, can you come back? So I don't recognise the person's name, so maybe they're using an alias or they've done something stupid, which is quite possible with students. So can you come back using a name I can't spell today, recognise, let's use it. So that's then sent a message just to the people in the waiting room. So that's appeared on the other computer screen that I'm looking at. So I'm expecting them to disappear. If they don't disappear, they're not in the meeting, they can't see anything, but you can then decide that you just want to kick them off and remove them. So I'm going to do that now. So I do that. Do you want to remove this evil person? I'll say yes. So the settings that we've set up, I mean, I can't get back in again. So they've disappeared. So I would tend to give them a chance to do something. Hence the reason I send them a message if it's somebody I don't recognise. That came up with a message on the other computer that said I've been kicked off, and I now can't get back in again. Anytime in the meeting, I will try and see if I can get back in again with a different name. I tried to get back in, even though I changed my name. It recognises that particular login, and it's refused to let me into that meeting. So that was from the setting that we set before about not allowing people back in once you've kicked them off. If you've got that on, be very, very careful, because they can't get back in, whatever, into this meeting. They will be able to get back into another meeting. So that's why it's worth having using that feature and sending a message and giving them a chance to back out and come back in again. So hopefully if you do all those things, you'll find that your meetings are secure, you don't get any problems. But if you do, if you go into, let's have a look so I can find the place. 1 second. Really obvious. If you do have a security problem with somebody and you want to report it, you just click on this report button. It's a bit of a pain. There is something that's not quite right about it. So there's that evil person that left. You can decide what it is you want to say. You can put some extra comments in. You can upload things. And you can include a screenshot if you like, and that will go off to Zoom, who will look at that person's account and decide whether to let them use Zoom anywhere else. So really, really good. You don't have to do that straight away. Just don't end your meeting. So if you I suppose can you actually kick people off? Hang on. So basically, if you ask everyone to leave, and then you can go through and just watch everyone go, and when they've all gone, you can then just work on reporting the person or the person that caused the problem. Okay, so hopefully it's given you a bit of an idea of how to handle security and how it looks when you're having people come in. Cheers.